You spent some time here. Got here in January. How's the transition been?
I feel like it's been good. I feel like everybody's accepted me pretty well. It's feel great to be here in the Brotherhood, and I wouldn't change it. Glad to be here.
How comfortable are you right now?
Extremely comfortable. I feel like the spring helped me get inclined with football and everything and the defense, so I feel like I'm playing fast, and I feel like the team is playing really well right now too.
Yeah, how do you feel about just where you guys are right now in camp?
Yeah, I feel good. I think that, the last few days we've definitely taken a step, I think, in the right direction as a whole team. I think the offense is starting to click a little better. Defense, I think we came out sharp, from the beginning of camp and just trying to build every day. We got a lot of veteran guys. Caleb himself, he might be a sophomore, but he's a veteran guy too. Played a lot of snaps last year for Alabama, so I think it's going well. And I think that if we just keep continuing at this pace, the next 2 weeks it's gonna be pretty. It's gonna be a pretty product on the field here come August 30th.
You guys have a lot of talent on that side of the ball, and a lot of young talent as well. And it's refreshing to see veteran guys coaching up the young guys and being engaged in practice. What does that do for the team morale as a unit?
I feel like it helps the people that are on the sideline. If they have energy, it creates a different type of feel for practice. If everybody on the sideline is just looking like sad and not excited and into the practice, then it doesn't really make a good feel. So I feel like if you coach the young guys up, they'll help you and they'll give you energy off the sideline too.
Talk to me about Coach Knowles and just what he's been able to do for you guys and the changes that he's made.
Yeah, I think, Coach Knowles is a really smart guy. I mean, the defense that he's built, from the secondary to the second level and then to the front, it's so in depth and it's so it works. It's a great scheme. We all love playing in it. And I think that he's done a great job this offseason of letting us have a little more freedom, maybe play a little looser. And I think that's just making us play faster and allowing us to be the athletes that we are, allowing Caleb Downs to be Caleb Downs, so to speak. So I think that he's done a great job with us this offseason, and along with the other coaches on the staff too. And, the guys are coming along, and, young guys are stepping up too. So that's really important with the longer season this year.
How have you seen the offensive line develop? I mean, they've got a tough task dealing with you guys out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're getting a lot better. I think that, right now a couple guys are sick, so it's kind of hard to tell today. But they've been doing really well. I think they've been making the right steps. That starting group's really strong. A lot of younger guys are starting to pick the pace up a little bit. So I think that as we gear closer towards week one, you guys are going to be really pleased with how our offensive line looks.
All the groups, offense, defense, we see them competing at a very high level. When you talk about the wide receivers and then the secondary, what's that competition like? Because it gets a little feisty out there.
It definitely gets chippy out there. I feel like it's all in good, good intentions. But BI definitely, we have some animosity to the wide receivers when it comes to the field. But it's all for the brotherhood. It's all for the good of the team. Whoever, we push each other to make each other better. So there's no animosity.
Yeah, you know what? You can see that. You guys go right up to the line. Of where it could tip and go the other way.
For sure.
And then you guys are, okay, let's wrap and go back and do something else.
Yes, sir.
That's good. It's really fun to watch you guys practice. Stay healthy, and looking forward to watching you guys this year.
Awesome, my man. Appreciate it.
Coach, good to see you.
Good to see you.
On this set with the mic flag and all, man, unbelievable. I want to hear, what has it been like for you in this role? Here we are in the camp as the offensive coordinator, new setting in a long time.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And I think first and foremost because of the kids and the players here. They are all about football, their mindset and the culture that these players here. A lot of people speak about it, but you can see it here every day. It truly is a brotherhood. Anything Coach Day asks them to do, they do. And they know that he wouldn't ask them to do something if it wasn't beneficial to what's going to go on during the season. So, you guys just got a chance to observe what practice looks like here, and it's a different level, and it's a different level because of the players, and these players here are awesome.
Hey, you coached at a different level for quite some time. You were head coach twice in the NFL. I don't want to compare the talent necessarily, but it just feels like it's a veteran group, the way they work, the way they stretch, the way they practice, the way they tackle, the way they finish. Is that a fair comp? And if so, do you have some examples?
It is, and I think it's, those 9 players who decided to come back because they had unfinished business, I think they've set the tone. They've been the North Star that the rest of the team has followed, and it's been awesome. The Cody Simons and the Amekas and Trey Henderson, Donnie Jackson, there's a bunch of those guys, Jack on the defensive line, JT, there's a bunch of those guys. And they've been around each other so much that they truly are brothers, those older guys, and they just filtered down to the younger guys, and it's pretty cool to watch.
Coach, obviously being a head coach, a lot more time doing other things. I mean, that's what every head coach says when they go through the transition that you've gone through. But specific to the game plan during the season, how is it different? Like when you were a head coach and you're putting in the game plan, you were drawn in different directions.
Yeah.
How different will it be now?
I think it'll be different. You know, Ryan has a lot on his plate. You know, we meet offensively and defensively all the time. And then he's in and out of the meetings. You know, he'll come in and then sometimes it's like you got to summarize like, hey, we just covered this. This is where we are. I like this, I like this, I like this. Think about this here. And then you just kind of, because you can run it by him that way. But he does get pulled in a lot of directions. I can empathize with him because I've been a head coach. I was head coach for 15 years. You know, you understand what that role is like. But the fact that I just get to do football is a pretty cool part. So
There's a lot of talk about the offensive line needs to come along or improve. Specifically, what does that look like? Where specifically do they have to improve?
yeah, that's interesting, and I get that. But I wasn't here last year, so I didn't watch any of that. Like when I came in here, I'm like, wow, this group's pretty good. You know, there's some really talented kids. I think Donnie is outstanding. Adding Seth from Alabama, who's a real veteran guy. Jimmy's played a lot at left tackle. Josh Fryer's played a ton of football for us. You know, trying to figure out who the right guard's going to be. But there's a lot of guys that are playing really, really well and competing really well. So, you know, I think sometimes when you're in this thing and you don't have an observer come in from the outside, you know, you're not sure what you have. Then I've always done it with Yogi when he comes in. Whenever my teams are like, what do you think? Because you don't know what your team is because you don't see anybody else. But when I came in from the outside, I was like, wow, this O-line's pretty good. And then ironically, Billy O'Brien's a great friend, and Obi was here just before me before he left to go to BC.
Right.
And I said, Obi, what do you think about the job when it came open? And I was talking to Ryan, and he was like, he goes, man, they're loaded. He goes, I don't know what they say about that O-line, but there's 3 or 4 of those guys that are starting the NFL right now. So I'm excited about where we're headed in the offensive line. As you know, we got to get that first unit together so they can gel, but I'm excited about what this group can do.
I think it's the most physical Ohio State practice we've seen since with Network started.
Yeah, one of the most physical practices I've ever seen. I think anybody that showed up, they can know football or not, they're going to say, yeah, that Jeremiah Smith guy's pretty good. What have you learned about how he's approached the craft, the expectations, the praise, the blame that could be thrown on a young player?
Yeah, that's the one thing about JJ. JJ is a tremendous athlete, and that kind of struck me the first time I saw him. I'm like, wow, who is that kid? But then when you watch him every day, like his work ethic isn't a typical 17-year-old. And I say that because he was 17 when he first got it. I think he just turned 18. But he is like an old soul. He is like a guy that's been in the NFL for 10 years and just wants to work on his craft. And he works as hard at stock blocking as he does at running deep balls. Like there is no task too big, too small. We had a bike competition for power outage. We had an Olympic competition that went from 48 to 24 to down to the final 8, down to the final 4. He won it as a freshman. You know, when we had our testing in February, he broad jumped 11.2. That would have been the longest broad jump at the combine this year.
Wow. And
he did it as a 17-year-old. So he has the physical skills, but the thing that amazes me about JJ is his mental approach, and that every day he's working on his craft to get better. And it's, you know, sometimes to have that maturity at that age is really special.
Coach, appreciate your time. It's great having you.
And Ryan Day is with me now. Coach, those are some amazing numbers. I know you're not thrilled with the way the last few seasons ended, but can you take some pleasure when you look at that, at what you have accomplished here?
No. It's all about, you know, where we are right now and where we are moving forward. You know, I feel great about where we are as a program and the work that's been done, you know, to not only recruit the players we have, put the staff together, but also, you know, the culture that's been built here and that's here right now. You got a chance to see practice. You know, you could see, you know, how the guys are very, very competitive against each other. It was a long practice, but it was a physical practice. And if we can keep stacking days like this, then, you know, more wins will be ahead of us.
It was an incredibly impressive day, and so I know you have that goal in mind of being a national championship team. I want to talk about some of the moves you made. One of them that's so interesting is Chip Kelly coming in. You know him back to your days in New Hampshire. You guys have worked together in the past. With him collaborating now with you, where do you think that he is adding the most value?
There's a lot of value in that. I think the first thing for me individually is the trust that's there. And, you know, his background, not only being a head coach, being a coordinator for so long, he's got a lot of background of great offensive mind. Or he's got a great offensive mind and great scheme. And I think the key is like what fits our guys. Yeah. And as we come together, you know, what's already been here, but him adding on to that is critical. But he's got great experience calling plays, big games. And it's been great to collaborate with our staff that's here now and figure out where this year is going, because every year is a different journey.
I do think it's fascinating that you left a head coaching job to come here, and part of that is the chance to work with you, and part of that is the immense talent, but part of that is the job has changed. Just give people a sense of how different your job is than it was even just a few years ago with the portal and NIL.
I think I said it like 2 or 3 years ago that we may wake up in a few years and not really recognize college football. I think we do recognize it. We know what it is. I think the product's been as good as it's ever been, but it has changed a lot that comes with the way teams are built on a year in and year out basis, and it's become almost year to year. Now, we're very fortunate we've been able to retain a good portion of our roster year in and year out, and in particular this year. But it's a little bit that way, and because of the drastic changes that have gone on, the job does change. Now, here's what hasn't changed: football.
Yeah.
And that's the great part of this time of year is we're not worried about anything else. We can put all the distractions aside. The guys don't have class. We can just focus on football. They're in the hotel, so we can eliminate a lot of the distractions.
Let's focus in on the football. You're going to get a lot of questions about the quarterback situation. You have a little bit of a battle going on here. What are the factors that you're going to use to winnow it down and decide who your starter is?
We're going to have to win the big games. We know that here. You got to win them all, but you got to win the big ones. And what entails winning those big games? The first thing is you got to have great command, and you got to have great poise in the huddle and the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to hurt teams with your feet and with your arm. And when it's time to make that play, you got to make that play. And that's a big part of being a leader. You got to lead the team into the end zone and down the field. I feel like our guys have done that. They've had a good summer. You're starting to see some guys really step up in that room, looking to see how this Saturday goes. We'll be scrimmaging a little bit.
I want to ask you about the offensive line as well. Was an area probably, again, it's all relative, but it probably was your weakest area a year ago.
Yep.
Where do you see that group now?
Well, coming into camp, a lot more experience in the past. Seth certainly helps us solidify some things on the inside. Both tackles have experience. Donovan Jackson, really had a great summer as well. They've had a little funky illness going on in that room. We're hoping to flush that out here by the end of the week so we can move forward. We've been kind of a little bit back and forth, a couple of the lineups, a couple of guys been in and out. So hopefully we get to flush that out and start to get some chemistry with that group.
I do want to ask you about one individual on offense, just because Jeremiah Smith is getting so much hype. For people who haven't had a chance to see him day to day, just give people a sense of what he brings.
Yeah, that's the only reason with you guys coming to these practices, you get to see some stuff that other folks can't. You probably saw one of the plays he made today. He's a tremendous talent. I've been trying to keep everything at bay for a little while until he plays. But it's no secret. He's a tremendous talent. But I think the thing, again, that impresses me the most about him is not only physically his ability to run routes and catch the ball, is his strength, his size, but his work ethic. I mean, he really works at it on the field, goes hard, but then off the field as well. Very, very few missed assignments for a young player.
You talk about work ethic, and one thing that really stood out to me today is that this group does seem really self-motivated. There's so much competition going on among themselves, and they're driven by that. Let me ask you this. When you have a team this talented, what is the psychology? How do you know when to push hard? How do you know when to back off?
Well, I think the first thing is they're very, very hungry. They are, and we're going to push. We're going. I think it's easy to say, well, it's a marathon and we'll get to the end of the season, but that's not the way this game's played. It's played physical, it's played hard, and we want to wear teams down and win the game in the fourth quarter. And so, these guys are embracing it. I mean, you saw, how we finished today and how our guys went today, and they want more. They're running off the field wanting more, and that's a great sign for a team. But, we're going to keep pushing. We think that, we're very talented, but we don't want to be known for our talent. We want to be known for all the no-talent issues, our effort, our work ethic, our focus, our discipline, all those types of things. And so that, combined with a great skill set that we're working on building our fundamentals this preseason, is our focus.
Last question for you. Is it hard to focus in on all those little things for guys when they know that ultimately they're going to be judged on what happens at the end of the year?
I think if our focus has been building this foundation for the future. You don't know about the foundation you're building until you get down the road. And the way that I described it to our team was, you don't know if a house is strong enough to withstand a storm until the storm comes. Right. But you got to spend time building that foundation the right way. And so we're really trying. We say one day at a time, one brick at a time. But that brick has got to be in there right. You can't rush it. You can't take a day and just throw it out the window or maybe have a bad day. We're not allowed to have a bad day at Ohio State. And so we're going to keep building this foundation, and we'll find out when the big storms and the big games come.
We had an awfully good day today. It was fun to watch. Thanks for giving us the access you do.
You got it.
Thanks.
Some people say this just might be the best running back duo in all of college football. What would you say?
Shoot, I don't really pay too much to, what everybody else's opinions. I think the biggest thing, we just trying to put the work in each and every day and just get better, make our team better, so.
I totally agree with Trey. Like I said, we don't really listen to the outside noise. We just continue to improve every day and work.
What are some of the things that you've learned now that you've been here for a while?
I'll say just my time being at Ohio State so far, I truly understand what it's like being a part of a brotherhood, a team with camaraderie that brings everybody in and cares for each other genuinely, and what it takes to win a national championship.
You had an unbelievable freshman year. Some injuries here and there. How did that wear on you as a player mentally?
It was tough, man, but, I'm so thankful, for what God has put me through. It helped me grow, and it led me to Him. And so that's the most important thing, So I'm thankful for everything that He allowed me to go through.
Tell me about the room. You have an opportunity, coming in, you're going to share time. But what does that mean, and how does that affect your mentality? Because there was a time that, you wanted to be the number one running back. You needed to be the guy. You wanted 30 carries a game. But things have shifted now. How have you adjusted to that?
It's all about the personnel, and also just that person, like the situation coming in for different people, so it's different. But for me and Trey, I don't think it was never an issue or anything we thought about. We're team players. We just handle what we can, and just coming into the situation, it was nothing. We support each other through everything, so it was easy.
Tell me a little bit about what this team needs to do from the run game standpoint to get you where you want to do is win a championship.
Man, I think, just each and every day, fall camp right now, times it gets hard, hot outside, bodies start to wear down. But the biggest thing is just the coaches help us do is just push through, like Coach said, try to get past that wall. When we reach that point where we feel like we can't go no more, just keep pushing, man. And God has been doing a great job of helping us do so. So, man, yeah.
Sometimes people ask you to describe your game. I want to put a little twist on that. I want you to describe each other's game. You just get one word, though.
Okay.
Freak.
Go ahead.
Yeah. That boy, different. I got plenty.
Bro, you finna steal mine. That's mine. I was finna say different for him, but yeah, that's my word for him, different, for sure.
Tell me about the spin move. I didn't get a chance to see it today.
Yeah.
They tell me it's unbelievable. I was hoping to see it today.
And it's crazy. I think it came out with an update today on the game where the platinum is gone. So I'm like, dang, man. But, I seen some videos, some clips. It was outstanding. It was crazy for seeing those clips on the video game. So it was wild.
Yeah, all right. This defense, you guys go against a defense that's elite every day in practice. Yeah. How does that help you?
Man, best of the best, man, who we competing against. And, man, Coach Knowles, he's doing a great job, what he's doing. And just putting those players in the right, places and, to make plays. And so, man, they continue to bring it like that, man. I'm telling you, watch out.
What do you see from that group?
Yeah, definitely an outstanding defense, man. Every single day in practice, they're trying their hardest to get across the ball. They're disciplined. They work hard every drill. Every station that we go to where we're playing, I know that they're going to give their all, so they help us improve our game every single day.
Well, guys, thanks a lot for spending a little time with me. Stay healthy. Have a great year.
Appreciate you.
Coach, appreciate you spending some time with us. You made some adjustments between year 1 and year 2 at Ohio State. What was that process like year 2 to 3?
2 to 3, you look at all those things that you can get better at, because there are still areas where we can, and you're chasing perfection. We no longer happy with good or even great. We're just chasing perfection in all areas.
Some things you need to improve on before you get out of camp, you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on our pressures. An area we weren't really blitzing a lot last year, so we're working on that. Free up our D linemen, and we're working on turnovers. I mean, those are 2 areas we identified that we can get better at.
How do you work on turnovers?
You create an elaborate system, because a lot of it comes down to just the attempt, so you really track, are we going for the ball in those situations? You're not hitting the quarterback ever, so it's just a matter of, are you matching the hand? Those kind of simple things that you can really track, and we post it every day, and we've been emphasizing it since spring.
Coach, so many key players returned. What have you noticed about what they've done to the culture of your side of the ball, whether it's on the practice field, in the meeting rooms, in the facility?
Well, you know, expectations. I mean, you're at Ohio State, so there's always large expectations, but maybe where they fell on the offense before, now they fall on the defense. So they understand that.
Jack Sawyer seems to be the player that everybody, I'd imagine, hopes that he continues to be. How has he taken his play to another level in your scheme?
You know, Jack, second half of last season, he just developed another level of confidence, you know, where he knew he could become dominant and really make plays that changed the game. You know, JT has done that for us in the past, and I think Jack, clicked on about halfway through the year that he could be that guy too.
You know, to go back to expectations, Coach, you know, sometimes when players talk about we haven't gotten gold pants, we haven't won a national championship, sometimes that can be counterproductive. It seems like this group, it's really fueling them.
Well, a lot of those guys came back for those reasons,
right?
You know, so it's kind of driven by those returning players, and it's really up to me to make sure we're just getting better every day. I mean, I don't talk about those things, you know, they do. That comes from them, and my job is to make sure we improve every day.
Improvement. Caleb Downs would make anything probably better, whether it was in the kitchen or out on the field. What has he done for your side of the ball with the range, explosive ability, things he's done in the past?
Yeah, number one, he brings, that air of professionalism to the meeting rooms. So when he walks in the building, he's serious about his business. He's taking notes. He's, a guy who, if he ever does make a mistake, he's fixing it right away. So those are things, aside from his play, which is outstanding, that really rubs off on the other players.
Oh, there's some young guys we might see that we haven't seen in the past.
Well, you know, we got a young linebacker, Arvell Reese, who is really talented, and he's just been picking up the defense. I mean, I think he's a guy that's going to flash. You know, you got, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson are two DNs who may not be in the spotlight, but they're real talented.
Coach, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome back to Columbus as we wrap things up here. Ohio State kicking off the season August 31st against Akron. We've got them in prime time the next week here on the Big Ten Network against Western Michigan. The conference slate starts in East Lansing. They have a huge trip to Oregon on October 12th. They go to Penn State in early November and finish up here against Michigan on November 30th. Not an easy schedule by any stretch. There's going to be a ton of focus on that Oregon game. So I do want to start there. I think, Yogi, we want to pick your brain a little bit, right? You've been watching Oregon for years. This is your first time to be at an Ohio State practice. You've actually had the unique situation of now being at both this year. So we're not asking you to pick the game, but the media pick that as the Big Ten championship game. Doesn't mean they'll be right. How would you stack those rosters up against one another?
Well, number one, to watch those two programs compete, I think for all of us, like, what a joy. Like, when you're looking at competitive excellence with Dan Lanning and Ryan Day and their programs, I think when you look at their rosters, it's kind of similar, right? They built through high school, supplemented through the portal. Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel and company. To me, honestly, they're very similar. And you think about that game in Autzen, maybe there's a rematch, maybe there's another rematch, who knows. This is going to be football at its best. I got to be honest, when I'm watching practice, I'm thinking today, every snap when they play will feel like the world is on the line. And you can say that, coach, in every game, but you don't feel it in every game. I got to imagine it is two titans when you go position by position. Imagine wideouts going up against DBs, the tackle going up against an edge rusher and Jack Sawyer. Like, it is going to be everything we love about this game. These two teams are championship caliber. I think they're worth the discussion and the votes, at least from what I've seen among this training camp tour right now.
That game the second weekend of October in Eugene. Let's back things up a little bit, though, and just talk about what we saw today. Your big picture impressions after watching the Buckeyes.
You know, they've always practiced well. I think today was the most physical practice that we've seen in the Ryan Day era. Now, sometimes we get here on a different day, and that has something to do with it. All the teams that we've seen so far are practicing longer than I can ever remember, and it's probably because there's no two-a-days. So this was a long, hard practice. As you've said before, this is a superb defense. They have to find their offensive personality and what they want to do on offense, and there's no one better than Chip Kelly to figure that out.
Yeah, I go back to just watching the way guys interact. we know, I mentioned, we know that this is an elite roster. There's no question. So what are some of the things that they're going to do, the small things, to get themselves over the edge? And you see the leadership in this team really taking over. And, you know, we had an opportunity to talk with Mickey, and he said this offseason was unbelievable because all he needed to do was throw the keys to one of the leaders, and they could run this thing. So I think the type of team that they have right now is what they've been wanting to get to, the experience. Now that they don't have to play so many younger guys early, they can sit back and look, and that's how you build that depth. When you talk about teams that can compete for championships, that's how they're built.
You know, I said this before. We saw practice today. You know, the players saying the gold pants. We haven't won a national championship. We haven't won it. That is such not. I don't think that's always a healthy attitude because you're looking too far with this team. I think it's the perfect attitude, and they practice what they preach.
Yeah, I think this program under Ryan Day's leadership this year with this team, because you're right, past teams, those guys are playing on Sundays right now. They're playing a preseason game. This veteran feel, this team, they are truly looking at it as an opportunity, not as a burden, not as a challenge. They cannot wait to see this thing come to fruition.
They are a team on a mission. We said this at the beginning before we had watched them practice. You understand the sacrifices that guys made to come back.
Absolutely.
Guys who had other options. And I think to all of your point, you saw it manifest itself today. All of the competition on that field that was driven largely by the players.